I, 45F, never thought I would be writing this, but here I am. I need to get this off my chest because it's eating me alive. I was married to my ex-husband Henry, 46M, for 15 years before we got divorced. We met in college during our sophomore year. Henry was the charming guy everyone liked, and I fell head over heels for him. We started dating and everything was perfect until I got pregnant with Bruce in our final year. Henry wasn't ready to be a father. He wanted me to consider other options, but I couldn't do it. We were young and in love, so we thought we could make it work. His parents pressured him to marry me since they were very traditional, and he agreed, though I could tell he wasn't happy about it. The first few years were actually good. Henry got a job at a small company as a junior executive, and I stayed home with Bruce. We lived in a small apartment, and though money was tight, we managed. Henry would come home and play with Bruce, and on weekends we'd go to the park or visit our families. It felt like we were building the life we had dreamed of. Things started changing when Bruce turned 5. Henry got promoted and started spending more time at work. At first, I understood, he was trying to provide for us. But soon, work became his excuse for everything. He would come home late, sometimes past Bruce's bedtime. When Bruce would run to him excited to show a drawing or tell about his day, Henry would just pat his head and say he was tired. Weekends that were once for family became golf days with colleagues or business lunches. Bruce would sit by the window waiting for his dad, but Henry rarely showed up when he promised. When Bruce was 7, I decided to go back to work. Our expenses were increasing, and Henry's salary, though good, wasn't enough. Plus, I was going crazy sitting at home alone all day after Bruce started school. Henry wasn't happy about it. He said it would reflect badly on him if people knew his wife had to work. But I knew I had to do something. I couldn't depend on someone who was becoming more and more distant. I got a job as an administrative assistant at a local firm. My mother, bless her heart, offered to help with Bruce after school. She would pick him up, help him with homework, and watch him until I got home. That's when everything really started falling apart. Henry became impossible to live with. If dinner wasn't ready when he came home, he would make snide comments about how his mother always had food on the table. If the house wasn't spotless, he would compare our home to his colleagues' wives who didn't work and could properly take care of their homes. He would openly tell Bruce how other kids got to spend more time with their moms because they didn't work. It was like he was trying to turn our son against me. The fighting got worse and worse. We would argue about everything: money, housework, parenting. Henry would yell about how I was neglecting our family for my job, conveniently forgetting he was the one who was never home. Bruce would hide in his room during these fights, and it broke my heart, but I couldn't quit my job. I knew I needed financial independence. When Bruce was 12, I discovered Henry was having an affair with Lillian, 35F, a wealthy client from his company. I found text messages on his phone when he forgot it at home one day. Instead of apologizing when confronted, Henry turned it around on me. He said I pushed him away by choosing to work, that I made him feel unimportant, that Lillian understood him better. It was like a knife to my heart, but deep down, I knew our marriage had been over for a long time. The divorce was messy and bitter. Henry moved in with Lillian right after and they got married within 6 months. That's when I started noticing changes in Bruce's behavior. Suddenly, my sweet, understanding son became obsessed with material things. Lillian came from old money and lived a lifestyle we could never afford. Their house was like something out of a magazine: 6 bedrooms, a pool, home theater, the works. Every time Bruce came back from weekend visits, he would talk endlessly about their latest vacation or the expensive restaurants they went to. I tried explaining to Bruce that material things aren't everything, that love and family matter more. But at 12, all he could see was the glitter and glamour. He started asking for expensive clothes, the latest gadgets, things I couldn't afford on my salary. When I would say no, he would get angry and tell me how Lillian would buy these things for him. He started making excuses to spend more time at their house, even on my custody days. Henry encouraged this behavior, which made everything worse. He would tell Bruce that he could live with them full-time and have everything he wanted. But I knew the truth. One day, when I went to pick up Bruce, I overheard Lillian and Henry arguing in their kitchen. Lillian was saying she didn't want to raise someone else's teenage son, that it wasn't what she signed up for. She wanted to focus on her career and travel the world. That's when I realized why Henry kept telling Bruce to wait for the right time. He knew that time would never come. Things got worse when Bruce turned 16. He started talking about wanting Lillian to adopt him. He would say things like she was more of a mother to him than I ever was, how she understood him better. Every time he came home, he would compare me to Lillian, how she was more successful, more sophisticated, how she knew about wine and art and all the things I didn't. It broke my heart, but I kept trying to make him understand the truth. Last month, Bruce turned 19, and everything finally came to a head. He wanted a luxury car for his birthday. I had saved up $8,000 to buy him a reliable used car. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe and perfect for a first car. But Bruce refused to even look at it. He said Lillian had promised to buy him an expensive sports car if he moved in with them permanently. When I tried to explain that it wasn't a realistic offer, he got angry. I tried one last time to tell him the truth about Henry and Lillian. I told him about the conversation I had overheard, how they kept making excuses to delay his moving in, how Lillian had explicitly said she didn't want to raise him. Bruce got furious. He called me a liar and said I was just jealous of Lillian's success and the life they could provide him. He packed his bags and left, saying he never wanted to see me again. I called Henry afterward, hoping he would talk sense into Bruce. But Henry just said Bruce was an adult and could make his own decisions. I could hear the relief in his voice. He wouldn't have to keep making excuses anymore. I haven't heard from Bruce since then. My mother says I should let him go and learn his lesson the hard way, but it's killing me watching my child make such a huge mistake. I don't know what to do anymore. A part of me wants to keep trying to make Bruce understand, but another part knows he needs to figure this out on his own. Am I wrong for not trying harder? Should I just let him learn the hard way? Update 1. It's been almost 3 weeks since my last post. First, I want to thank everyone who commented and offered support. You all helped me realize that I needed to let Bruce make his own choices, even if those choices would hurt him. The day after Bruce left my house, I got a frantic call from Henry. He was furious, not at Bruce, but at me. He accused me of plotting against him and Lillian. I had no idea what he was talking about until he explained what happened. Apparently, Bruce had shown up at their house around midnight with all his belongings packed in his car. He walked straight into their house, he had a key, and announced he was moving in permanently. According to Henry, Lillian had been hosting an important dinner party for her law firm partners when Bruce arrived. She completely lost it when she saw him dragging his suitcases through her pristine foyer. She pulled Henry aside and told Bruce to wait in the kitchen. I could hear her yelling in the background during my call with Henry. She had told Bruce he couldn't stay there. Their house wasn't set up for another person, they traveled too much for work, and they had plans to renovate the guest rooms into a home office. All the excuses they had been saving up came pouring out at once. Bruce didn't take it well. He started bringing up all the promises they had made, the car, his own wing in the house, funding for his future business ideas. Henry tried to explain these were long-term plans, not immediate ones, but Bruce wouldn't listen. He accused Henry of lying to him all these years, of using him to hurt me. Henry tried to calm him down, offering to get him an apartment nearby instead, but that just made things worse. Bruce threw the house key at them and stormed out. No one knew where he went. I was worried sick. I called his phone every hour but it went straight to voicemail. I called his friends, checked his usual hangouts, even drove by the park where he used to go when he was upset. Nothing. 2 days of complete silence. I barely slept, jumping every time my phone rang. Finally, on the third day, I got a call from Jake, Bruce's best friend from high school. He told me Bruce was staying with him and his parents. I wanted to go see him immediately, but Jake advised against it. He said Bruce was in a dark place and needed space to process everything. Jake promised to make sure Bruce was safe and would let me know if he needed anything. It was hard, but I respected Bruce's need for space. During this time, something unexpected happened. While getting coffee at our local cafe one morning, I ran into Greg, 47M, an old friend from college. We were in the same study group junior year but lost touch after graduation. He had recently moved back to town after his own divorce and was trying to restart his life. We started talking and couldn't stop. Hours passed as we shared our stories. Greg's ex-wife had left him for her gym trainer, taking half his savings with her. He understood what it felt like to be betrayed by someone you trusted. Unlike Henry, who would dismiss my feelings, Greg actually listened. He didn't try to offer solutions or tell me what to do, he just let me talk. We started meeting regularly for coffee. Greg became my sounding board, the one person I could be completely honest with about my feelings. He helped me see that I hadn't failed as a mother. I had done everything I could to protect Bruce from the truth about Henry and Lillian. Greg made me realize that sometimes loving your child means letting them make their own mistakes. As weeks passed, our friendship deepened into something more. Greg was different from Henry in every way. Where Henry had been critical and demanding, Greg was supportive and understanding. He respected my job and my independence. When I talked about my hopes and dreams, he actually remembered them. After 6 months of dating, Greg proposed. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a quiet moment on his back porch, watching the sunset. I hesitated at first. My mind immediately went to Bruce. What would he think? Would this push him further away? But then I realized something important. I had spent the last 7 years putting my life on hold, trying to protect Bruce from the consequences of his choices. It was time to choose my own happiness. I said yes. We planned a small wedding, just close family and friends. I sent Bruce an invitation through Jake, but he never responded. My mother told me she saw him working as a waiter at a restaurant across town, but when she tried to talk to him, he walked away. It hurt, but I understood he needed more time. Greg and I bought a house together and started our new life. He owns a successful construction company and insisted I quit my administrative job to help him run the business instead. He said my organizational skills were being wasted pushing papers for someone else. For the first time in years, I felt valued and respected. Some nights, I still lie awake wondering if I could have done things differently with Bruce. But then Greg wraps his arms around me and reminds me that I did my best. He says Bruce needs to find his own path, just like we all did. I'm learning to be patient. Bruce's friend Jake keeps me updated occasionally, letting me know Bruce is safe and working. That has to be enough for now. I keep hoping that someday, when he's ready, Bruce will understand that real love isn't about material things or empty promises. Until then, I'm focusing on building my new life with Greg, while keeping my door open for whenever Bruce is ready to walk through it. Update 2. It's been 2 years since my last update, and something I never expected happened yesterday. I was at my office reviewing some construction contracts when my assistant told me someone was there to see me. When I looked up, Bruce was standing in the doorway. He looked different, older, tired, wearing worn-out clothes. Not at all like the polished image he tried so hard to maintain when he lived with Henry and Lillian. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Bruce asked if we could talk. I closed my office door and offered him a seat. He started by saying he was sorry for everything and wanted to explain himself. According to him, after the blow-up at Henry's house, he was too ashamed to come back to me. He said he realized how wrong he was about everything, about Henry, Lillian, and especially about me. He claimed he couldn't face me after how badly he had treated me. But as he talked, things weren't adding up. Through mutual friends and some of Bruce's old classmates, I had heard the real story of what happened after he left Henry's house. He hadn't spent those 2 years reflecting on his mistakes or trying to better himself. Instead, he had moved to Chicago, trying to make it big in the city. He had bounced between different jobs, waiter, retail worker, club promoter, never staying anywhere long enough to build a career. During those 2 years, he never once tried to contact me. When I sent birthday cards, they came back unopened. When I tried reaching him through his friends during holidays, he ignored my messages. Even when I heard he was struggling financially, he never reached out. He only remembered he had a mother when he needed something. The conversation took a turn when I brought this up. Bruce got defensive and finally admitted the truth. He had only come back because he heard about Greg's successful business. Some of his old friends had told him about our new house, Greg's company expansion, and how well we were doing. He thought that since I was financially stable now, I might be willing to help him out. What hurt most was realizing Bruce hadn't really changed. He talked about his business ideas and how he just needed some startup capital. When I asked about his plans for repayment, he got angry. He said as his mother, I should want to help him succeed. When I didn't immediately agree, he brought up Henry and Lillian, saying they had never really given him a chance either. That's when it hit me. Bruce wasn't sorry for hurting me. He was sorry his plan with Henry and Lillian didn't work out. He wasn't here to rebuild our relationship, he was here because he saw me as his backup plan. When Henry and Lillian rejected him, he tried making it on his own in Chicago. When that failed, he came running back to me, not because he missed me or regretted his actions, but because he heard I had money now. The conversation ended badly. When I refused to fund his business ventures, Bruce got angry. He accused me of choosing my new family over him, saying I had replaced him with Greg. He brought up old wounds, blaming me for working when he was young for not being more like Lillian. When I stayed firm in my refusal, he stormed out of my office, knocking over a chair in his anger. After he left, my assistant came and worried about the noise. She asked if I wanted her to call security, but I said no. I sat there for a long time, looking at the chair Bruce had knocked over, thinking about how some things never change. He was still the same materialistic person who saw relationships only in terms of what he could get from them. Greg was furious when I told him about Bruce's visit. He wanted to confront Bruce, but I asked him not to. This was something I needed to handle on my own. That night, as Greg and I talked, I realized something important. The son I had raised and loved seemed gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. The harder truth was that maybe he had always been this way, and I had been too blind to see it. I went to bed that night with a heavy heart but also with a strange sense of clarity. For years, I had carried the guilt of not being enough for Bruce. But now I could see that no one would ever be enough for him, not me, not Henry and Lillian, not anyone, until he learned to be satisfied with himself. Update 3. After my last update about Bruce's surprise visit, things moved quickly. He started showing up at our house unannounced, always with a new story about why he needed money. Sometimes it was for rent, other times for a business opportunity he couldn't miss. Each time, the amount he asked for got bigger. Greg was livid with Bruce's behavior. After the third unexpected visit, Greg wanted to get a restraining order. He said Bruce was trying to manipulate me and that it wasn't healthy for anyone. But I wanted to handle things differently. Despite everything, he was still my son, and I needed to deal with this my way. I arranged to meet Bruce at a coffee shop near my office. I figured a public place would keep things civil. When he arrived, he immediately launched into another business pitch, but I cut him off. I told him we needed to talk about our relationship first. I laid everything out plainly. I told him I would always love him as my son, but I couldn't have him in my life if he only saw me as a backup plan or an ATM. When he tried to interrupt with excuses, I stayed firm. I told him I knew about his time in Chicago, how he had ignored my attempts to reach him during holidays and birthdays. I knew about the different jobs he'd quit, the money he'd borrowed from friends and never repaid. Bruce finally broke down. He admitted he had been too proud to come home after Henry and Lillian rejected him. He thought moving to Chicago would prove everyone wrong, that he'd become successful on his own and show them what they had missed out on. When that didn't work out, he assumed he could come back and everything would be fine because I was his mother. I told him I needed time and space. I explained that if he wanted a relationship with me, he needed to get his life together first. That meant finding a stable job, his own place to live, and really thinking about what kind of relationship he wanted with me, one based on love and respect, not money and manipulation. He didn't like this answer. He accused me of being cold, of choosing Greg over him again. But this time, I didn't let his words hurt me. I told him that Greg had nothing to do with this was about his behavior and choices. I made it clear that until he could respect my boundaries, we needed to keep our distance. It's been 3 months since that conversation. Bruce occasionally sends text messages, usually when he needs something. I keep my responses brief and redirect him to our previous conversation about boundaries. Greg thinks I'm being too nice by responding at all, but I'm doing what feels right for me. Last week, I heard from Jake that Bruce finally got a steady job at a warehouse. It's not the glamorous life he dreamed of, but it's a start. I haven't reached out about it though. He needs to learn to stand on his own feet without expecting praise or rewards. I've realized that sometimes being a good parent means making tough choices. I have a good life now with Greg, and while I'll always love Bruce, I need to protect my own peace too. I've spent too many years feeling guilty about Bruce's choices. It's time to let him face the consequences of his actions. I'm not closing the door completely. If Bruce genuinely changes and wants to build a real relationship, I'll be here. But I'm also not leaving myself open to more manipulation and hurt. Sometimes love means setting firm boundaries, even when it breaks your heart to do so.